Welcome to day 2 of Create Your Flow. So today I am against a wall or closet, but we're going to pretend it's a wall. So I want you to find a wall so that you can test some stuff on your own body today. We're addressing the shoulders. Super important, but it goes along with the entire body. So if we're not using our breath correctly, our rib cage is going to get stuck. If we're not using our shoulder blades correctly, our shoulder isn't going to move very well. If our neck is sticking forward, other muscles around leading to your shoulders are going to get tight. So it all plays a role together, and you're going to be able to really see how that is affecting your shoulder today. So one of the first tests that we're going to do is really just called shoulder flexion. So this one, I'm going to stand probably about a foot away from the wall, and I'm going to take my hips and my back all the way against. Now, your low back is not going to be flush against the wall because that's just not practical. We don't move with like this, right? Okay, so we are going to have a little bit of a natural curve that's going to pop up the wall. That's fine. The goal is that you want to keep the rib cage facing down. Okay, so for your rib cage and the bottom is flared out, then you know you have a little bit too much back extension and you're probably cheating. So we want to take this rib cage and drop it down, point it down toward the floor. A really good way to do that while you're doing the test is to actually breathe out as your arms are coming up. So shoulder flexion is actually arms up to the ears. Okay. The other goal that we want to pay attention to is that the elbows stay straight and the thumbs are pointing straight for the wall. The goal will be to touch the thumbs toward the wall. That's how we're going to test if we have full shoulder range of motion. So I'm going to breathe out as I bring my arms up toward my ears and then come right back down. Now, if your thumbs didn't touch, that is a good indicator right there that you don't have adequate shoulder flexion. That means if you're doing anything that involves shoulders overhead, handstand push-ups, handstands, pull-ups, leg lifts, anything where you're hanging and you don't have adequate shoulder range of motion, or maybe you're doing the American kettlebell swings overhead and you don't have adequate shoulder flexion, you technically should not be doing those exercises, and it could be really dangerous and cause shoulder impingement. So, and if you're already having signs of shoulder impingement, rotator cuff, whatever it may be, this is a good indicator as to why that's happening. Okay. The other thing, I would want you to record yourself or have someone else record you, because if your arms are bending, really good indicator you don't have enough shoulder range of motion. If your rib cage is coming up, a really good indicator you're just cheating. Okay. Or if your shoulders are coming really high up to your ears, another good indicator that you're overcompensating with your shoulder blades and you don't have enough range of motion freely through those shoulders. So again, breathe out, rib cage stays down, head back, bottom on the wall, touch those thumbs, come all the way back. Okay, the other one that we're going to do is we're going to test shoulder internal range of motion, because internal range of motion goes along with flexion, just as it will in the hip when we talk about that later. So I'm going to show you, hand out, can you touch your opposite shoulder blade without walking up the back like this? Other one, can you touch the opposite shoulder blade? Mine comes right to the very tip, but it's actually quite difficult in my right arm. So I know I have a little bit of limitation in my right compared to my left, okay? So make sure you to test both sides. Even with shoulder flexion, you might notice that one hand gets there faster than the other hand. A really good indicator, the lagging hand probably has some restriction, okay? So first test that we're going to do for shoulder flexion is just child's pose. So we're going to come down to the ground here, and I'm going to come on out. So this is a really good one to just passively start to get that shoulder range of motion. Hips back, you're going to round in your back and reach out. Okay, so here I want you to just do 10 really slow breaths, breathing in to your belly and breathing out. Okay, reaching the hands as far as you can. You should start to get a really good lat stretch, which comes from, it actually attaches into the arm and then comes all the way down the back. So this is a really good one to start to stretch out. After 10 breaths, I want you to try to keep the elbows straight, reach the thumbs up to the ceiling, and try to hover one hand and then try to hover the other hand. Okay, and then go right back into that breathing. That's really going to start to activate the lower traps and get the arm overhead the way it should be. Okay, next one we're going to do is really for that internal range of motion. So I'm going to lie on my back here, and I'm going to take my hands and place them right underneath my tailbone. So right underneath my tailbone here, I'm going to take my shoulder blades and lock them down. Okay, so I want my shoulder blades to be locked down to the floor. You can start with your arms up if you want, and then take those hands and then squish them underneath your tailbone. Now you might notice that your shoulder wants to pop up. That means you have limited internal range of motion. Try to get that shoulder blade to lock down, and we're going into your slow breaths. So I'd want you to do about 30 breaths here, or hold it for about 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, try to keep those shoulder blades pinched down and try to hover those elbows off the ground for about 5 seconds. Okay, really difficult on my right side. Again, I'm lacking in shoulder internal range of motion, so I might have to lock it down again, hold and breathe, and then lift off. Okay, so go into one of those 2 exercises, and you're going to do those every single day. Okay, so my personal mobility routine to this point will be my suboccipital stretch and my shoulder range of motion. So I'm going to take my hand onto my chin tuck first, and hold. Breathing here for about 5 to 10 breaths. And then I go into my most restricted shoulder exercise, which is lying down on my back, shoulder blades down. Breathing here for about 30 breaths. And then I can lift and hover that arm. If you want to recheck the test that you just did to start with, that is totally fine, and a great way to start to open up and feel what's opening up and possible for your body. So when you're going into these, make sure that you're going into that breath again, trying to stay out of that chest, get into your lower rib cage, get into your belly area. And one that I would suggest going back to is just that child's pose breathing. It kind of gets you into the idea that you're going to be breathing from that back area as well. So breath doesn't only come from the belly, it creates a 360 pattern. So coming into that child's pose, I want you to feel like the low back is going to open. And you can even put a hand back here to start to feel that breath if you want to. Okay, so really opening up, using that breath is really what's going to start to release those muscles and increase that range of motion. Mobility starts from within. It starts from your body being able to trust itself and feel like it's in a safe environment. It will not open up if it doesn't feel safe. If you have your stress level that's way too high, your body is in protective mode. Think of it like someone scaring you, and you go like this, and all of a sudden everything gets stiff, right? You breathe from the chest, your whole body stiffens up. Imagine your body being like that in a constant state. If we're not releasing that stress, if we're not getting back into the breath, we're never going to increase that mobility. And that is only a cause for a lot of pain and a lot of injuries. So start with that breath, focus on that breath, and then use it into your exercises every single day. So I'm so excited for you. We're going to learn so much about our body. This is only day 2. We got 5 more to go. You guys got this.